Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Meenan, and welcome to this Grant MacGregor webinar covering data security and compliance for professional services. Our team planned to provide this free education as part of our commitment to improving cyber resilience across the UK at all levels. There will be an opportunity for a Q&A at the end, so please pop your questions into the Q&A box as we go along. You should be able to see the question mark inside a speech bubble at the top of your screen. An eye-opening statistic on cybercrime is that 2020 was the busiest year on record. To break it down, it works out that there was an attempted cyber attack on a UK business every 46 seconds last year. That is one of the reasons why we created this event, to help those responsible for managing risk to better understand common cyber risks, common compliance standards, and which areas to focus on first to improve your risk profile. Next slide, please. Firstly, who are we and how are we qualified to educate you? One or two of you will know us as clients, but for those who do not, established in 2000, Grant MacGregor is a multi-award-winning managed IT service provider. We have 20 years experience in delivering world-class IT support and technology solutions to help our clients to remain focused on their mission and their goals. For the last 4 years, we have also served as a fully qualified certification body for the NCSC's Cyber Essentials scheme, advising and helping a broad range of people and organisations to thrive by improving their management of risk and adherence to common information security compliance standards. During the next 40 minutes or so, we aim to introduce you to some of these standards and 12 of the crucial control measures that are common to most of them and that can be readily actioned. These should form your next steps as you will learn. Next slide, please. But first, let's clarify whose responsibility is risk management or compliance within your organisation. Perhaps it's the IT manager, or perhaps it is an outsourced IT company like ourselves. In fact, it's neither. Both the NCSC and the Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO, are very clear on the point that the responsibility for risk, information security, and compliance all rests at board level. They maintain that any organisation, even those outsourcing their IT, retains responsibility for information security at a senior management or board level. So whilst you may employ an IT manager or you've outsourced your IT and some of the security controls, it is still a board level duty to understand and manage all types of risk. Next slide, please. So what kind of compliance are we talking about and what standards must we meet? For information and organisational security, we are all subject to the Data Protection Act of 2018 and GDPR here in the UK. Any data breach that poses a risk to people must be reported to the ICO as soon as possible, but certainly within 72 hours of discovering it. An organisation that can demonstrate that they have put the essential security standards in place will be viewed more favourably than one which has chosen to ignore such risk management. Common standards range from simple technical controls that cover the basics, but offer up to 80% protection from common risks, such as Cyber Essentials, to more organisational measures around policies and developing a security culture of more demanding standards, such as ISO and IASME governance. But which should you follow and why? It's a journey that begins with addressing the basics. So let us now tell you about 12 of the most common controls and how you can address these to improve your security and risk management posture. I would now like to hand you over to my colleague David Lawrence, who will take you through these 12 controls.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for that introduction. I'm David Lawrence at Grant MacGregor. I head up security here. And today we're just going to talk about security and compliance. I think we've all heard of the phrase, tax doesn't have to be taxing, right? Well, data security and compliance does not need to be taxing. What we're going to do is break these 12 crucial controls down into bite-sized pieces and place them into context for you. The first 3 essential controls are the starting point to understand what you have that needs protecting and implementing these basic securities. Then controls 4 through to 9 are the initial steps to ring fence and protect your data, people, and devices. The last 3 controls, 10 through to 12, are the organizational steps. That involves equipping your colleagues with the education to help better protect themselves and the data they access. So let's talk about the IT assets. Ask yourself these questions. Are your IT assets all securely configured and maintained? Do you have a comprehensive, up-to-date register of all your data, your devices, and people that access your data and applications? Can you track and manage each asset security configuration? A solid first step is to create and maintain a hardware and software inventory, right? So all your hardware assets like PCs, phones, computers, multifunctional printers, network equipment, so you know what devices are accessing your data. Then awareness of what software can be and is installed. So again, by creating a software register, you will have an oversight of what software is installed and, crucially, the software that is not supported. So are all your computer operating systems and software supported? Old, redundant Windows 7 and XP machines shouldn't be installed. But even Windows 10 machines require feature packs that are released twice a year to be in support. And let's not forget Apple Macs, they also require updating. You should also prevent data leakage by managing what can and should be installed and connected to your computers. So device control solutions that allows prevention the sensitive data leakage and malware infection via sort of everyday external devices such as USB flash drives, Bluetooth devices, DVDs, or other storage devices. So number 2 is endpoint device protection. And what do we mean by endpoint device protection? So are your computers, smartphones managed and secured for threats? Is your computer protection actively scanning, analyzing, and quarantining suspicious activity and threats with automated reactions to protect you and your device? Now, with Cyber Essentials compliance, the very minimum protection you should have on each machine is as follows. Having anti-malware protection is based on signature scanning and investigative assessment against all knowing malware threats, so such as viruses, worms, trojans, spyware, keylockers, and all malicious software. We want to make sure that we enable that computer firewall so that it controls applications that access your network and, crucially, the internet. And let's not forget about enabling disencryption. It's so important. So if your computer is stalling or misplaced, that is protected and encrypted. So for Windows machines, we want to make sure that the default 3 BitLocker is enabled. And for Macs, under the file vault, the encryption is also enabled. And remember, this is just essential. So to protect yourself further, advanced endpoint protection and detection and response is an event link component capable of identifying advanced threats or in progress attacks, and it brings together device intelligence across all your computers. And this solution comes in the aid with incident response teams to investigate and respond to advanced threats. A topic that we talk about often with Cyber Essentials is user access controls, and that's number 3 on our list. So again, I think you need to ask yourself, do you rigorously control all aspects of user access, the user accounts that are created within your organization? Do you know who can access what and to what permission level? Do you audit and control user access rights passwords, permissions, and let's not forget admin accounts regularly. So if your people are provided with unnecessary system privileges or data access rights, then the impact of misuse or compromise of that account will be more severe than it need be. We often see in our Cyber Essentials assessments people that have admin access to their computers. And so why is this dangerous? So if you're logged in as a standard user, the permission you can install software without typing in an admin username and password. So logging in all day as an admin and not a standard user increases the risk of malware being installed with a higher privilege level. All users should be provided with a reasonable level of system privileges and rights needed for their role. Proper thought-through onboarding and offboarding process for members of staff when they start or leave. This enables or disables their user accounts. Then granting of highly elevated system privileges should be carefully controlled and managed. Admin accounts should be maintained. Even your IT people and providers need to be demonstrate the process and controls they have in place when they use admin accounts. So number 4, security patches and updates. And again, I think ask yourself these questions. Do you apply timely security updates or patches to your computers? Are all listed installed operating systems and software regularly updated? Do you use a comprehensive update service to protect your computers from the latest known vulnerabilities for all your software? So what is a software update? When software or operating systems have security or application weaknesses, fixes are made available that require you to update the old piece of software to the latest version. So the first goal is only use supported software, because non-supported software will not receive an update when a security exploit is made public. The second goal here is to quickly fix known vulnerabilities, usually via an update patching service. Now, failure to do so is likely to result in an increased risk of compromise of systems and information. So again, I think you need to ask yourself and find out what patch management you use. Does it just patch key operating systems and applications? So what about the software that it does not patch or update? So what is your fallback process? Is it a manual updating using your software asset register that we talked about earlier to highlight the software that can only be updated manually? And develop and implement policies to update the patch systems. Crucially, conduct regularly vulnerability scans or use always-on tools to highlight security flaws within the software. So number 5 is internet web security. And again, ask yourself, do you employ suitable web content filtering and security software? Do you prevent your people from visiting harmful or unsavory websites? And is your internet gateway secure in place to detect and prevent malicious web malware threats? Now, here's a fact. Your devices are always exposed to attack when they access the internet, period. Your organization's network almost certainly now span many sites, and the use of mobile and remote working and cloud services make defining a central boundary very difficult. Software web content control helps enforce your company's policies for allowed internet traffic, web access, data protection, and an application controls. Administrators can define traffic scan options and exclusions, schedule web access while blocking or allowing certain web categories or URLs, and configure data protection rules and define permissions for the use of specific applications. And I think ask yourself, have you been involved? Do you know what content controls measures are in place for your organization? What rules have you been set up to block or allow access to websites and cloud applications? This is your responsibility and for you to be a part of, and not to leave it just to the IT people. So number 6 is incident and response and recovery. Is reliable data recovery in place as part of your incident response plan? Nothing is foolproof. Can you readily recover your business data that is accidentally or maliciously deleted or worse, encrypted from all your critical systems. All your organizations will experience security incidents at some point. As the saying goes, it's not if, but when. And that's why companies are choosing effective cyber insurance. Investment in establishing effective incident management policies and processes will help improve confidence and potentially reduce your impact. In fact, the Information Commissioner's Office, ICO, as part of GDPR, requires you to have an incident response and data breach procedure. It's so important that incidences are easy to report to a responsibility within your organization without blame, and that the organization learns lessons from the incidences. So establish an incident response plan. Who's doing what, when? Define the required roles and responsibilities within your organization. Establish a data recovery ability. So what data and applications do you need to restore, by when, and when from? So we call that the recovery time objective and the recovery point objective. And critically, you want to test this incident management plan. Decide what information will be shared and with whom. Collect and analyze post-incident evidence. And always conduct a lessons learned review. Provide training and report criminal incidences to the police. So email security is number 7. There's so many facts out there, from Hiscox insurance reports to other reports on the internet. But one stat that's always hovering around 70 to 75% is ransomware attacks originate in email. So again, I think you need to ask yourself, do you have effective email security in place that actively scans and protects your email, web links and attachments? Now, the free Office 365 email security, or the Gmail equivalent, is not effective, which are the #1 way that cyber criminals affect your organization is through emails. So email protection secures your people and data with superior protection against email-borne threats, protecting against malware and non-malware threats, preventing imposter email threats, and sandboxing those malicious attachments and testing those URLs that are sent through emails that your users might click on unwittingly. And it's protecting against compliance violations and information loss. So let's just recap. Microsoft's included on-built online protection provides a basic degree of defense from malware, though it does not go far enough against today's persistent level email attacks. It also does not offer any form of business continuity for disruption or disconnection from the 365 service. So when 365 suffers an outage, your inbound and outbound email will not bounce or be lost. So number 8 is multi-factor authentication. So what is MFA? Well, MFA is sometimes referred to as two-factor authentication, or even the number 2 and the letters FA, 2FA. You probably already use it in some form already. For example, you've used MFA if you've swiped your bank card at the cash machine and then entered your PIN number, or you logged into a website that sent a code to your mobile phone, which you then entered to gain access to your account. You're presented with 2 pieces of evidence: your credentials when logging into an account. Your credentials fall into any of these 3 categories. Sometimes something you know, like a password or PIN number, something you have, like a smart card or phone, or something you are, like your fingerprint or your eye. Have you set up multi-factor authentications? Now, passwords are so easily compromised. Have you added this layer of protection on top of your user passwords to ensure your email mailbox, your social media accounts, your critical data and your systems are better secured? Now, if you're using passwords alone, you're waiting to be let down. You should use MFA whenever possible, especially when it comes to your most sensitive data, like your primary email mailbox, your financial accounts, and your health records. While some software apps require you to use multi-factor authentication, Many offer it as an option extra, as an extra option that you enable, but you must take the initiative to turn it on yourself. So number 9 is next generation firewall. Is your Office firewall effective in preventing and detecting and resolving inbound and outbound network traffic? Is it suitably configured to control access to your data and your applications? So let's try and remove the mystery of a next generation firewall. So let's talk about your journey through a typical airport security process to help you understand the difference between a firewall and a next generation firewall. You're at an airport walking through security. When you go through security, they're not checking your carry-on baggage. They will just let you pass straight through and allow you onto your onward destination. Now, this is a typical firewall. With a next-gen firewall, unlike before, security will not let you just go through. They'll check your boarding pass. They will also check that you are on the allowed to fly register. They'll also check your luggage and all your items. Then even before you depart, checking your destination is safe to visit before you leave. And while you're in the country, you have your own security detail in case you stumble into an unscrupulous shop or location. And if you do fall victim, you will be quarantined until someone can help you. So number 10, we're going to talk about security policies. And I think, again, just ask yourself, do you apply appropriate data and information security policies? Are all your devices compliant against your company paper policies that we talked about earlier? Should they be able to access your applications and your data, or even non-compliant devices are denied? Someone needs to be responsible for the information security within your organization. The creation of an information security policy to then distribute that policy to all your employees, ensure that the policy is part of the employee's contractual obligation and onboarding. Now, also what you want to do is create a password policy to distribute to all your users. Where is practical, enforce strong passwords via technologies such as Active Directory and Office 365. And also, other applications can take use of a single sign-on tool, such as Microsoft's single sign-on technology that allows you to log into your favorite applications and websites using just one username and password. We want to make sure your password policy should also be part of your security awareness training. So an employee and offboarding process should be reviewed and updated if necessary by using a checklist and process, and then critically assign somebody internally, a person who will be responsible for that process. You've now created the policy, so you should ensure devices are compliant against that policy and allowed access to business apps, data from only compliant devices, and prevent access from devices that are non-compliant. So how do we deal with devices that are not business owned? So we can apply conditional access policies, we can apply compliance policies, and we can apply device configuration policies. And for the devices which are not business owned, we can apply application protection policies and application deployment, enrollment, so that the devices accessing your data are aware that the type of data that they are accessing and the devices are in your compliance. So number 11, security awareness culture. So do you employ security awareness training for all your people? Do you promote a security culture and educate your people about data security threats and policies and best practices? Do you test them frequently and monitor the results? Your people have a critical role to play in your organization's security, and it's so important that security rules and the technology provided enable your people to do the job as well as help keep the organization secure. And this can be supported by awareness programs and training that deliver security expertise, as well as helping to establish a security conscious culture. So what does this look like? So produce a user security policy, establish a staff induction process, maintain user awareness of security risks faced by the organization, and support the formal assessment of security skills. Monitor the effectiveness of that security training, and that's crucial. Promote an incident reporting culture as well. The company should brief all new employees on their shared security responsibilities before or immediately after employment, preferably reinforced by reference literature, and assign a person responsible for the onboarding process. Review if new employees receive adequate information on their security responsibilities. So number 12 is about information protection. Can you easily locate and retrieve sensitive data within your organization when required? Does your organization classify your information in terms of confidentiality? Do you have policies and control measures to restrict access and processing rights? And are you GDPR ready? Where does your data come from and where does it go? Now, to find out, you can conduct an information data audit to find out what data your organization holds. A data information audit will help locate, then define different types of collected data. Now, the purpose and justification of collection and the data flow for your organization, the data owner and the data processor and the controller, and review how data is protected and where it was obtained. So talk to staff across your organization to get a more complete picture of your data process and activities. And as part of the information audit, the organization should document all types of data which are held, including personal data. And we want to classify data based on type. So is the data for non-business use? Is it confidential? Or is it okay to be in the public domain? Document the purpose and justification for processing that personal data that you have separately for each data category, such as date of births, home addresses, and sensitive information. Document the location of data. Is it on a local server? Is it on a stored cloud storage somewhere? Or is it even on a physical local storage device? And you want to document the transfer of that personal data. So for example, sending it to an external HR consultant or company. We want to check if the organization holds any data of children under the age of 16. And we want to check if the organization holds any sensitive data, such as medical records. Now, this does not need to be challenging. Using a straightforward spreadsheet to use as a data mapping tool is quite straightforward. Using Microsoft labels within common applications, Word and Excel and Outlook, to select the correct classification, like public, internal, confidential, restricted, is an easy first step when you're using and creating data. So that's it. That's the 12 steps. Hopefully you found that useful. I'm going to pass you back to my colleague, Paul.
Thanks, David. Now, following all the information we've given you, you're probably asking, what can I do next to make sure that my organisation and my people are protected? We think the best first step is to look at Cyber Essentials. Cyber Essentials will get you 80% of the way there, and if achieved, will also qualify you for cyber insurance cover. So how do you start this journey, and how do you invest time to manage your risk? Next slide, please. Here is a preview of some of the exclusive content that we'll be sending out to you as a result of you attending today. This includes our 12 crucial controls checklist, which will help you to better understand your risk, and we will also send out our own Cyber Essentials guide. We will also follow up with each of you individually to offer a 30-minute consultation with one of the cybersecurity experts here at Grant MacGregor. This call will answer any questions that you may have on the process, review the 12 crucial controls that we've discussed today, and we will also work together on the best next step for you and your business. Next slide, please. Just had a look and we don't seem to have any questions, but feel free to raise them in the top right hand side of your screen, and As I said, we'll also be following up with each of you individually, so we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have there. Next slide, please. This is just a final reminder from us that risk management is not an IT responsibility. It is a board level responsibility. Cyber Essentials can make you more compliant and protected, but it's also a badge of honour that your organisation has achieved such an accreditation, and it shows that your organisation has a security culture in place. We still don't seem to have any questions, but as I said, we'll be following up with each of you following this call today. So on behalf of the team at Grant MacGregor, thanks to everyone for attending. We'll be in touch, and I hope you have a lovely day. Thanks again.